Good day, ma'am. In my part, we will start with the factors affecting listening skills. So, we all know that in the realm of communication, listening stands as the most important pillar, shaping our interactions, relationships, and comprehension of the world around us. However, the efficacy of our listening skills is not reliant on our auditory faculties. Rather, it's an interplay of various factors that intricately mold and influence this essential skill. So, we will talk about the factors affecting listening skills because it is really important for us teachers to know what was the reason behind their distraction when it comes to listening skills, why they can't comprehend what we are saying. So let's first have the personal bias. The first one is personal prejudice can affect how well students listen and how they perceive what the speaker is saying. So regarding this factor, we all have our own favorites or topics that we want to talk about. And the same way it goes for our students. If they do not like the topic, whether it's too hard for them or they're not just really fond of it really affects their listening skills. That is why we as teachers should be aware of the topics that would pique their interest and try to incorporate it with the lesson. For example po, the lesson is teaching listening. I think, no offense, but most of us are fond of chismes, and so are students. So we can relate the teaching of listening by providing them an analogy that when they gather chismes and that chismes is proven right, then their listening skill must be good as well. So in this way, even though some of them don't like the lesson itself, it will compel them to participate because we incorporate examples which they can relate. Next factor, environmental factors. Noise, temperature, and uncomfortable sitting will make students to focus their attention on other factors instead of what the speaker is saying. For example po, if the classroom is not well ventilated, yung focus po nila ay maaaring nasa paghahanap ng anything na pwedeng nilang pamaypay. As well as the noise, like you're having a class pero may nagpa-practice ng banda sa school nyo. Tapos maganda pa yung tinutugtog nila. Baka mas piliin pa nilang intindihin kung anong song na tinutugtog ng band kaysa sa kung anong topic nyo. So I think it's a factor that is very evident and it will really affect the students' listening skills. Third is short attention span. Students with a short attention span may have trouble focusing on tasks for any length of time without being easily distracted. So some students really have a short attention span and that really affects their listening skills. To address this, we should plan the length of our listening activity to the level of our learners and make our discussion as succinct as possible. Fourth factor, daydreaming. Daydreaming causes students to lose focus. Daydreaming is the stream of consciousness that detaches from current external tasks when attention drifts to a more personal and internal direction. I think this is something inevitable in some cases because we sometimes lose our focus when something triggered us to think about it. In our students, there would be instances that in the middle of the discussion, and then we're gonna call someone and ask them about the topic. They have no idea because their mind is flying elsewhere. And that they are there in front of you existing, but they are living in their own daydream. Next is lack of vocabulary. The lack of vocabulary hindered participants' listening skills. The listeners were not able to understand some listening exercises because they did not know some keywords. So this is kind of a serious one because students do not have really control regarding the words na sasabihin ng teacher or gagamitin sa discussion. Kumbaga, it's in the hands of the instructor and it's his responsibility to be aware of the student's language level and ability. That is why I think we should use more simple words if we really want to use highfalutin words, then I think it's better if we write it on the board and include its meaning so students can still catch up with the point of the discussion. Let's proceed with the benefits of developing listening skills to our learners. First is improved communication. So research by Ishakov and Kluger found that building a listening-based communication culture makes students feel more relaxed, more self-aware of their strengths and weaknesses, and more willing to reflect non-defensively, which results in an improvement in communication. When we teach listening skills to our students, it really improves their communication process because through listening, they're able to provide a meaningful communication. Through listening, they can comprehend kung ano yung sinasabi ng instructor or ng teacher nila and eventually be able to formulate or generate appropriate answers or responses to maintain the good communication. And by listening, we can also show interest and respect for others, creating a climate of trust and collaboration within the classroom setting. Next, increase learning. Listening helps us learn and assimilate knowledge from different sources. For example, listening skills can improve reading comprehension, learning, and academic performance early and later. So evidently, when students listen, they acquire information and it adds up to the learning that they have, specifically in the aspect of reading comprehension. Effective listening enables learners to comprehend the texts better. In the aspect of academic performance naman po, we cannot deny that listening serves as one of the building blocks of literacy. And if one has a good listening skill, he is more likely to perform well academically. Next, gets students prepared. The importance of listening in communication is that it prepares students for the lesson. While they listen, they can formulate the replies for the discussion. So, developing listening skills to learners give them time to process the information while they listen to it, which prepares them to consolidate their learning and give their responses appropriately. Now we have the modern ways to teach and model effective listening skills to the learners. As a teacher, it is really essential to incorporate activities and another thing is model the ways that help learners improve their listening skills. So in this part, we will discuss some modern ways that we can utilize to teach learners effective listening skills. First thing is listening to students. Yeah, this is very important, I think. Indeed, we cannot demand something that we cannot do ourselves. It's a walk your talk principle, and it's best if we take time to listen to our students when they want to share their ideas and thoughts. Hear their comments from their vantage point, and if they feel like we have the heart to listen, I think they are most likely to return the favor because they would feel like they are heard and they belong, like their opinions and thoughts matter, and eventually emulating us as well. Active listening exercises. So, active listening exercises are an excellent way to help learners improve their listening skills. These exercises require learners to be fully engaged in the listening process and provide feedback to show their understanding. So, in this part, we can utilize the specific activities provided by Ma'am R, the previous reporter. So, she provided specific activities that we can utilize in the classroom setting in exercising active listening. Visual aids. Visual aids such as videos, pictures, and diagrams can help learners to better understand the content being taught. And teachers use visual aids that are relevant to the topic and they're easy to understand. Visual aids can also be used to stimulate discussion and encourage learners to ask questions. Ang paggamit ng visual aids ay very important kasi visual aids cater the different learning abilities of the learners, and it's kind of respect for their own styles of acquiring learning. And as we all know, students have individual needs, and visual aids help them comprehend the information presented than just dictating them the load of information. So maganda talaga na may nakikita sila as well as listening kung ano yung sinasabi ng teacher. And at the same time, nakikita nila mismo. So they would have a clear comprehension about the topic. Encourage note-taking. Note-taking is an effective way for learners to retain information and help them to stay focused during the listening process. We must encourage our students to take notes as they listen to lectures or participate in class discussions. We can also provide them it's better that we can provide them the guidelines on note-taking techniques to help them organize their notes. And the main point of this is for them to review the material and for the purpose of retention as well. Next, active listening strategies. Teachers can also teach learners active listening strategies such as paraphrasing, summarizing, and asking questions. These strategies help learners to stay engaged in the listening process and encourage them to seek clarification when they do not understand something. So we can model these strategies during class discussions and we can tell them to use it in their own listening. So this will help them to clarify what they have heard and if their listening is effective. Kasi diba, if you can't explain what you've heard to others in a simple way, that means you don't fully understand what you've heard and your listening is not a success. Last, provide feedback. Feedback is an essential part of the learning process. Teachers should provide learners with constructive feedback on their listening skills, highlighting areas where they can improve. Feedback is really important for students to know saan sila nagkamali, ano yung kailangan nila i-improve. Feedback helps learners to monitor their own learning. It helps them to identify what they have done incorrect, what needs to be improved nga, and how it should be done better. So takeaways po, listening is a skill, an art, and discipline. There are individual differences in comprehension as well as factors that affect it. Incorporating effective strategies and tasks is necessary to improve students' listening skills. So listening may be as simple as it sounds. Like it's just listening, we just listen. But it is a skill, an art, and discipline. In a realistic context, focusing on listening is one of the best investments we can make as a language teacher. Why? Because I think it is the foundation of learning. It is the root of acquiring knowledge. And beyond the academic context, listening helps learners to understand to others' viewpoints, promoting a learning environment that is both communicative and non-discriminatory. Thank you po.